to this week's episode of What It Means to Be Human with me, Kate Sterling. And today we're not all talking, I am talking all about self trust and trusting yourself and what to do when you have perhaps lost that trust in yourself, or perhaps where you feel wobbly about what you're doing, and you're constantly potentially seeking the approval of other people, you're seeking validation from what others think or say, and ultimately you're potentially holding back from actually doing what you want with your life because it can become quite entrenched, can't it? Now, before we get going, I always harp on about trust because it's a really human thing to feel wobbly around it, or to kind of doubt ourselves, or to lose that self belief in ourselves. And it's why I have it tattooed on my wrist. And the reason I have trust tattooed on my wrist is that over a decade ago now, when I was at drama school, I had this one class called Alexander Technique, which is all around posture and presence and all sorts of things like that. And the teacher said to me, you need to trust that you can be the very best that you can be in any given moment at any time. And basically, what he was telling me in that moment was to trust myself, to not constantly be trying to do it right, to not constantly trying to be, you know, essentially seeking the approval of what other people might want from me as an actor. But this comes into all areas of life in human nature, because whether it's literally deciding what to have for breakfast or how to perform in a play, or how we approach parenting, or how we approach relationships, or how we approach deciding whether or not we want to do something, at the root of that and at the center of that is trust in ourselves. And sometimes it is also hampered when perhaps we've been through life experiences where we might have made a mistake, or we might have received information in certain ways that makes us think that we are wrong. And this can also be something that perhaps you've experienced as a child growing up, where perhaps being yourself was or came with repercussions, whether it was being told off for something, whether it was being told that's wrong, whether it's being told that, or choosing to do something and it having really painful negative responses in life. This happens to all of us. And the most important thing really to start to think about when you think about the idea of trust is allowing in the body and the breath. And the reason I say this is that often when we're worried about something, or we are anxious about something, or we are in a state of low self-trust, what we also have is an increase in stress in the body. And that might manifest in anxiety, poor sleep. It might kind of be leaning in, you might find yourself leaning in towards wanting to comfort eat more, you might be scrolling more, you might be in a state of lethargy, you might also have mood ups and downs, you might find that you don't have much taste for life, because ultimately your body potentially has gone into this state where it is trying to look after you, protect you, keep you safe. Now, the irony of that is it kind of creates this cocoon where we don't want to leave because it becomes familiar and it becomes comforting. But on the other side of that, you want to probably also still be making the moves, making the changes, having a kind of more fulfilling life. So these things are all going on at the same time. And the reason I say this about the breath is that even coming on here today, I can feel that tightness in my body. And it might be that actually you're very agitated in your body. You might be finding it very hard to concentrate. You might be finding it very hard to focus on certain things. So we have to take a breath to even invite in the idea of trusting ourselves, especially if you have been through a period of time where perhaps, yeah, you might have made some mistakes. So you might have had things happen that have been really painful. And physically, we feel these things. And so the whole idea of exploring self-trust and building trust in ourselves is also that it is a process, like a muscle. We're going to build it. We're going to put in those reps, and we're going to commit to doing that. Even showing up and doing this podcast today, I've had a massive couple of weeks, not a massive couple of weeks, I've had quite a few weeks where I haven't recorded an episode. And what starts to happen over that is that you start to overthink, like, oh God, well, when I do it, how should I do it? Does it need to, perfectionism comes into it. Is it that I need to, come back in with a bang? Is it that I need to do this, that, and the other? And actually, when I came back to it, it's like, no, there is this message to share, and I need to kind of get that momentum back going. I want to get that momentum going again. So I'm going to come on, I'm going to do the thing and I'm going to put it out into the world and I'm going to celebrate that and honor it. And often with trust, what we really need to do is actually be open to the idea that we are capable of the thing that we want to do. So, for example, say you are an actor or a business owner and you are trying to make a decision about something. This could also come into a relationship. And you're really starting to overthink it and you're trying to find the best and the right choice in that. What I invite you to do is to come into your body and to take a couple of breaths to connect, pardon me, to connect with yourself, to really understand what's going on so that you can understand actually, I'm trying to, what am I doing here? Why am I overthinking this? Why am I not actually doing anything about it? Why am I stuck? Because then you can start to understand with compassion what's going on for you. You can start to say, I'm worried about, someone saying no to me. I'm worried about rejection. I'm worried about the idea that I'm going to get it wrong and I'm going to get told off for that, or I'm going to be laughed at, or someone's going to take something else away from me. And what we want to also do in that moment is say, well, no, actually, I am capable. I am allowed. I have overcome hard things before. And I have survived them, because ultimately trust is also about really believing in yourself so that no matter what happens on the other side of the decision, you are still going to live the life that you want to live. And the thing with trust, when you are in a place where it has been potentially dampened, lowered, the tank is empty with self-trust, we do have to start on a very small scale. And it is sometimes as simple as, literally why I have this on my wrist. Looking at my wrist and saying, I trust myself. Knowing that even if we make a decision that turns out to be wrong or not the best decision for us, we have learned from that. And that sometimes we're going to make mistakes and they're going to be really, 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 really painful. But it's from that mistake or from that lesson or from that learning that we can reflect back without being hyper self-critical, because this is the other thing. We need to start to be kind to ourselves in a way that is still also generating positive energy to still move forwards, so that we're not scared of actually trying something again. Because what starts to happen is we get scared of it. So we are going to protect ourselves. We are going to create a cocoon for ourselves. We are going to create a sense of, I don't want to go out there actually. I'm just going to stay here. But it's often happening completely unconsciously. We don't even realize we're doing it. So that awareness of what's going on, which is what I mean by saying, connect in with your body, connect in with the breath, soften into the belly, be aware of any areas of tightness and tension, even this space between the brow. We start to overthink it. We start to think, God, what's the right decision here? Our brain wants to take over. But when we come into the body as well, and when we connect all of that, we can actually come at the idea of trust from a place of, okay, well, what's going to help me feel good? What's the best I can do with the information that I have right now, rather than what is the right or the wrong decision. Life is not binary. It is not as simple as saying this is right and this is wrong. Of course, there are decisions that we make that are better for those that we love, that are better for ourselves, that are better for humanity, that are better for the outcomes you want to have. But sometimes with the skills that you have at any given moment in time, you're doing the best that you can. And that is the most important thing to remember. And when it comes to building self-trust, often it is about following through with the things we say we want to do. Because if we say, I'm going to go and do X, Y, and Z, and then we don't do it, unconsciously, we start to diminish our own tanks of trust, because we're not proving to ourselves that we're actually committed to doing what we say we want to do. So this is why also it's really helpful to either have goals that excite you enough to actually have the motivation to go and take the step towards them, or it's about acknowledging, where are you setting yourself up for failure? Where are you setting yourself up for stakes that, or for a goal that is actually not manageable? E.g., I'm going to go run a marathon today. I'm not going to do that. If I wake up every day and be like, I'm going to go run 26.2 miles today, I'm setting myself up for failure, because I literally can't do that. I've got arthritic knees and arthritic knee. But what I can do is say, well, today I'm going to, I'm going to make my cup of coffee in the morning just how I like it. And I'm going to really do that, and I'm going to enjoy it. That's much more achievable. I'm going to look forward to doing that. So sometimes it's about chunking it down into more manageable steps as well, to be able to say, like, look at what I've done. I've actually achieved that, and I've survived it, and I feel better for it. And that's also how we build confidence and self-belief, because ultimately this is part of that energetic ecosystem that physically you really, really, really need to have to keep driving yourself forwards. But over time, it's also about this momentum of it. So we don't just kind of wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to go and do all the things I say I want to do, because physically we have a physical reaction to that. Our body, especially if you've been through a time where you are worried about certain things, the body is going to be in a higher state of stress, which means there's going to be this agitation, which means you're not going to have potentially the strength in your words, or the words to even know what it is you want to say. We have to really understand what it is that we want to be able to communicate that, to then also take the action towards it. So if you are someone who is currently in a place where you are not trusting yourself, and again, this might look like you are seeking, you're asking everyone what they think. You're looking to see what everyone else is doing before actually doing what you want to do. You're not even sure about what you want to do because you've spent so much time looking at what everyone else is doing, what everyone else is achieving, that you've shrunk in your mind and in your body and in your kind of self-perception, yourself to such a small part of this world that the idea of actually doing anything in alignment with yourself is absolutely impossible. So we have to take it back to very, very simple steps. The idea of I trust myself. And the thing is that, you know, we can call that an affirmation. I trust myself. We are affirming in our minds that we trust ourselves. However, that is not going to work if you are also then saying back to yourself, well, no, I'm rubbish and I can't do this, and this is going to happen if I go and do the thing I want to do. We have to create an environment for ourselves within ourselves for this idea of trust, to say, well, if it goes wrong, I'm still going to remember what I did there. That was really courageous. I was really brave, and we're going to celebrate that. I need you to start really committing to being open to the idea that you are capable of the things that you want in your life and your career, especially when the work that you do comes from within you. It is a natural byproduct of your expression, of your imagination, of your visions, and who you are as an individual. And especially if your work is open to public opinion, to the opinions of others, whether that's family, friends, loved ones, whether that's to the opinion of a partner, whether that's because you don't have a partner and you're so in your own world, you've become completely self-isolated. It's about understanding who you share your ideas with. Share it with people who care. Share it with people who really are celebrating what it is that you want to do. But also recognize where perhaps you're putting yourself down rather than lifting yourself up. Because at the end of the day, annoyingly, we are massively in control of our outcomes. Circumstance can change. This is not to say that it's easy. It's not to say that there aren't going to be challenges where we don't have the money we want, we don't have the time we want, we don't have the networks we want. But we have to be the ones to go out there and make those real. And in order to do that, we need to trust that we are enough in who we are to go out there, and that someone will see who we are and value that. And for that to happen as well, we must value ourselves first. And self-trust ultimately comes into this cycle with self-worth, seeing ourselves in a better light, communicating that, self-belief, the courage to go out there and be ourselves, whatever that means to you in the world, and believing that we are not going to be destroyed as a result of doing that. Because depending on your experiences, this can have a massive, you can be at either end of a spectrum, and it can really, really, really be holding you back if you're also worried about this sense of autonomy and of expression in who you are. But I really also want to invite in this idea that there is no competition against you. You are unique. And the most important thing when building self-trust is to acknowledge where those fears are actually starting to hold you back. And that there is great courage to acknowledge those fears. And that this must happen hand in hand. For example, one of my biggest fears is actually my fear of success. Like, I'm absolutely terrified of the success that I want in my life. However, that fear holds me back from going out there and actually exploring what it is that I want, putting myself out there, believing I can do it, believing that no matter what, I'm going to be safe on the other side of it. So that becomes the thought programming. It becomes, well, when I have, those visions that I have for myself, I am still going to be able to handle them. I am still going to be able to believe in myself when there is criticism against who I am. I am still going to be able to do my best work, even if there's a lot of people who are criticizing me. It's like a protective boundary so that no matter what, you are cultivating an energy of trust, because ultimately trust helps you to have presence. It helps you to be with people, listening to them rather than up in your head worrying about what you're going to say next. It helps you to truly and utterly live in a way that you want to live. And a lot of that is also coming back to, well, what is that? What do you like? What do you enjoy doing with your time? What lights you up? What excites you? Even on a small level, what do you enjoy doing or not doing? And how much of these things are you currently doing in your life? And how much are you actually trying to match what other people are doing? Because you think that if you do that, then you will have the thing, then you will have the respect, then you will have the money, then you will have the house, then you will have the wardrobe, etc. It actually comes back to this idea, well, actually, in order for me to do that, I need to live really honestly every day and kind of explore what that means to me or for you. It really needs you. Building self trust really needs for you to be honest about this idea that you are capable of holding and having the things that you want, and that that is also okay, that people will celebrate that. And when it comes to this idea of intuition and, for example, as an actor, trusting yourself in the room to actually perform your best, you need to also be conscious of where hierarchy is impacting, or your perception of hierarchy is impacting your performance. And this can also come into business. So it's understanding across any board where you see yourself in relation to the world, to understand where you are shrinking your perception of yourself. Because if you do that in a room where you see everyone else as bigger, you're not necessarily going to have the confidence to actually honor yourself, which is what self-trust is. Self-trust is in the moment being like, well, I think I'm going to do, I'm not even, I think we want to try and keep the logical mind out of it. This is my intuition. This is what I feel like I'm going to do, and I'm going to go and do it. And I'll take the feedback, whatever that is, and I'll use that for my betterment. I won't use a terrible experience as proof as to why it's not possible for me. And, I did an audition a couple of years ago that was unbelievably awful. It was when I was starting to tease going back out into acting again. And it was terrible because my nerves got the better of me. I put so much pressure on myself. And it was just so bad. I came into that room like an absolute rookie. But what I told myself after that was, well, I've just become, this is like 2 years after becoming a parent. There was so much going on in my personal life. And what I said in that moment was, actually, I was really brave and I ripped off a plaster in that moment. And that is going to set me up for those moments years down the line where perhaps I'm in those same rooms and I'm able to actually perform my best because I did that hard, scary work all those years ago where I made an absolute tit of myself. And it was emotional. I came out and I cried. And it's part of this emotional process of really and utterly allowing it to be an emotional thing too. Same with when you're putting stuff out there with your business, when you're trying to grow a business and you don't know if you can do it. I can't tell you how much that has dictated the last couple of years of my life. You are not alone in seeking out and building self-trust. I have been a coach for 25 years. I've worked with mindset and high performance now for well over a decade. I still have to work on my self-trust in even as a coach, even when I'm building my presence online, even when I'm talking about myself. It is an ongoing muscle to strengthen. And I share that with you to also just remember that we are all human in this journey of growth. And what you're doing here when you face those fears around really trusting yourselves is to really acknowledge, is to really recognize and acknowledge where you are hiding potentially from yourself too, and your own capabilities and what you are scared of within that. And in order to really build self-trust, we must believe that what we have to say, who we are, and what we want to do in this world has value. And that it's only if we really do that that you will have the success that you crave, because you will not be in competition with anyone else then. And what starts to happen when we unconsciously try to morph into other people, or we pick out the bits of, oh, well, that's been approved of by society, so I need to try and look like that, or this is, how they say we need to do things, so, this is what I'm going to put on as my next layer of how I dress, or, well, this is what has never happened before in an industry or in an idea, so therefore it's never going to happen for me. So in order for it to happen to me, I need to be like that. And what starts to happen is we completely and utterly change who we are. So I really, really, really want you to trust that actually, let me promise you that when you start to do this work and you start to really acknowledge what you're capable of, and you really start to see that, and you really take risks and you celebrate the risk as the thing, you will build self-trust, because over time you build your energy and you meet people that are aligned to you, and you start to see that success can be safe, and you start to say, oh, actually having money is great, and having the autonomy to say yes or no is amazing, and actually things can get even better by doing that. And I promise you, this has been a very painful journey for me, because a decade ago after my divorce, I also had no self-trust. My confidence was absolutely obliterated. My neurodiverse self, I didn't know it at the time, my neurodiversity, but my rejection sensitive dysphoria led me to the darkest mind scope, the depth of despair, the emotional turmoil, the needing to go on to antidepressants, the having all the therapy. So I know this journey so well. And let me promise you that it starts small. It starts with that morning connection with yourself and a cup of coffee, and being, yes, grateful for what you have. And then also saying, well, today I'm going to live as best I can in alignment with myself. I'm going to be really honest about what I want. And that might start with being really small, as in a small action step. Chunk down. If you're in a high state of stress, a high state of worry, you really, 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 really are feeling like a shell of yourself in many, many ways. We want to build this up step by step, day by day, hour by hour if need be. And it takes a commitment to yourself. It kind of takes this moment every day to say, imagine you've got that imaginary trust written on your arm. I trust myself. I do this with my daughter in the swimming pool. She now says, I trust myself before she jumps in. If we have that hesitation, it's funny, isn't it? If you think about when you've gone to do something and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. That's the time that we fall over. That's the time that we trip. That's the time that we make a mistake. That's the time when the words trip in our mouths. That's the time when we, try to oversell ourselves and we start to talk too much. But when we come at it from this place of I trust myself, and we take a moment for that to land in our body, this is also about slowing down. We can be present with the idea that I am actually capable of this. You are capable of this. Even if you need to listen to this every single day, start to commit to the idea of trusting in yourself. It absolutely starts from within you first. And the byproduct of it, I promise, day by day, is that you will start to reduce the stress in your body. You will start to increase your creativity naturally. You'll start to have ideas about things you want to do. You'll start to gain that clarity of what it is that you even want. Because often when we've lost our trust, we've lost that clarity of the direction that we're going in. So keep dreaming, keep imagining what you want in your life and what that feels like. And I'm not just talking about materialistic stuff or the job titles or the accolades. I'm talking about what it will give you, the freedom, the peace, the joy, the fun, and start to use these emotional drivers to help you make and take action. And over time, you will keep developing that connection with yourself. And that is how you build self-trust. It really is also, if I'm honest here, about kind of bringing that focus into yourself. When self-trust is dented, without realizing it, we are scanning constantly for what other people are doing. We are risk assessing, we are walking into a room and we're trying to second guess what everyone else wants from us. And this really comes back to the idea of what is the best that you can do in that room. What is the kind of best option that you have with all of the information that you have in your life to date. I can do things now that I couldn't have done a decade ago. I am able to communicate in a way now that I couldn't communicate a decade ago. And some of that I had to learn through excruciatingly painful, emotional, awful lessons. However, what they have given me is the insight I'm sharing with you today, and the insight that I will continue to share with you is this idea that actually you are capable and you are allowed to succeed and you will do it and you can trust yourself. And when you start to truly connect with the thoughts around that and you allow that to land, keep going with it. I trust myself. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Not in a conflict or a kind of clashing with your inner critic, but with a communication and a collaboration with all of those thoughts that you have going on at the same time. and recognize that there are different chapters of life, and what has come before does not have to dictate what will go next. Likewise, what you want in the future will need some different skills, and this is an amazing opportunity to go and hone them. It is like a craft, see it like an art form, and you don't have to tell anyone you're doing it. Just use it as an opportunity to connect and to even, for example, share something that you might be passionate about with yourself. You don't have to do it publicly. The other thing to acknowledge is, when you share something to someone and they give you feedback, the value that you give to what people share back to you is really important. If you have low self-trust, you're probably putting more value in what other people are saying to you in response. I need you to stop doing that, or to be a bit more discerning with it. I need you to question their feedback. I need you to question the information that you are being given in the outside world. Whatever people are saying, whatever society is saying is possible for you, whatever your family has done, whatever your friends think, we can hear these things and not listen to it. And it's really important, because if we are constantly thinking and assuming that everyone else knows better than us, we don't have the space to become the version of ourselves that is actually able to handle the things that we want. So I hope that helps. I will keep talking about self-trust. It is an absolute bedrock of everything, especially when you work for yourself. And especially if you are in a position where you are hitting a glass ceiling in your career, when you are a leader of your field, when you're in the public eye, when there is a lot at stake, we must keep honing self-trust. We must keep increasing our capacity for risk, but without it feeling so risky, we can't actually go out there and take the steps that we need to do or need to take to move things in the direction we want to go in. So I hope that helps. Please do follow the podcast. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Come and like us on Instagram. I'm Kate Sterling _. You can follow the podcast as well. What It Means to Be Human pod, and keep doing this work. I say this every time, and this is where I've probably dented my own self-trust in myself, to be honest. I'm always like, I'll be here next week. I have set myself up for failure a number of times by doing that, because perhaps I haven't had the commitment, perhaps I haven't had the focus, perhaps there's been too much going on. And those moments as well, I've probably, dented my own self-trust. So in order to keep building self-trust, let's stay committed to doing this work almost together, but in this way of, setting ourselves up for success and sticking and committing to what it is we say we're going to do, even if it changes slightly. So it doesn't mean that there's no flexibility in this. It's not an all or nothing approach. It is a daily commitment to acknowledging perhaps what we have achieved actually and what we could do better, and repeating that every single day, and kind of saying, actually, what is it that I want? Because that could be a starting point. Is if you don't even know what it is that you want, just come back to the things that you really, really enjoy in your life. And if you don't even know what that is at the minute, then that's what you need to focus on. And especially if you're navigating a massive change, becoming a parent, going through a breakup, having, a chapter of work or career change that has been a little bit unexpected. That always makes me think of, when you have a massive win and then you think, great, this is going to be it. This is going to be where my life goes next. And then it doesn't pan out as expected. It's really destabilizing. So just know that it's normal. That happened to me after drama school. It happened to me at the same time with my divorce. But it's part of the process, and it doesn't have to be the end. It is actually an invitation for a new future, because that's exactly what happened to me. Sometimes it's about letting go of the things that we thought we always wanted to create the life that we do want. I haven't really pushed my acting career for the last decade, but I'm living a great life. And that's from literally just kind of not forcing things, but from prioritizing myself, from rebuilding my energy, and from exploring other avenues too. I love my coaching. I love this podcast. I love kind of exploring all of this. And it's that daily exploration and curiosity in ourselves and who we are beyond our job titles that increases that capacity to have all of the things that we want to be able to do. And that's incredibly exciting. And that is where, as a multifaceted individual, you get to do all the things, which is exactly where, this podcast, hopefully, and why this podcast exists, is to help you keep doing that. So keep believing in yourself. Please, every day, just keep reflecting and celebrating what you are doing in relation to all of this. And just know, if you have any comments, please put them below. Any questions, put them below, and then I can feed it into future podcast episodes. But well done, and thank you for listening. And take this as a choice and a moment to say from here on in, just like I did a decade ago, I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to do the very best that I can do every single day, in any moment, in any time, and that is the very best I can do, and I'm going to honor that. So take that. That's my gift to you. Take that, honor it, and start to program it into your mind. It's going to take repetition. You're going to have doubt, but every time come back to the challenging of the truth of your thoughts, and come back to this idea that I trust myself, and allow those words to land in your physical body. Okay, have a great week, and I'll see you soon.